Mr. Deputy Speaker. In March last year, on a previous occasion when we debated the need for an inquiry on Iraq, the Foreign Secretary expressed surprise at my reservations about the credibility of the inquiry chaired by Lord Butler. In my speech later in the debate, I laid out my concerns, which I won't repeat here. But when that inquiry was set up, we already knew of Lord Butler's form from his evidence to the Scott inquiry. When asked about the less than full information being provided in parliamentary answers, he said, "You have to be selective about the facts," and commenting to the Scott inquiry on other parliamentary answers, added, it was an accurate but incomplete answer. The purpose of it was to give an answer which itself was true. It did not give the full picture. It was half an answer. We must make sure that the inquiry that we set up after today's debate gives the full answer. And given the outcome of the Butler inquiry, it is appropriate to consider what we know about the chair and members of the current inquiry, especially as we heard today from the Foreign Secretary that having first announced an inquiry in private, the government is now putting its faith in John Chilcot to conduct the inquiry in an acceptable manner, telling the House that the Chilcot approach meets all reasonable expectations. I think the debate today demonstrates that this is not the case. We also learned today from the Foreign Secretary that Sir John Chilcot went along with the inquiry being conducted in private. In contrast, Sir John is now saying that as much of the inquiry as possible should be in public. That is good, but what message does it convey about his objectivity and impartiality when he was apparently happy to accept an inquiry conducted in private? Surely it should have been perfectly obvious to everyone, at least those who have no interest in a cover-up, that this would not do. By accepting such a condition, Sir John, a retired civil servant, and as such, someone who could be regarded as an establishment figure, failed to exert his independence. He does not seem to be the sort of person that robustly evaluates evidence and comes to careful conclusions. Indeed, as a member of the Butler Committee, he must have gone along with the remarkable decision to support the government's claim that Iraq sought to procure uranium from Africa, ignoring the conclusion of the International Atomic Energy Agency that the allegations were unfounded. What's more, they did so without giving any reasons for disagreeing with the IAEA and without addressing probing questions that I and the former member for Blaenau-Gwent, Klaus Smith, submitted in our dossier to the inquiry. I'm not the only person raising questions about the selection of Sir John to chair the inquiry, as we heard earlier from the benches opposite, but also in an article in last Sunday's Observer, Professor Philippe Sands talks about the role of the chairman being crucial, but says questions abound about the choice of Sir John. What was it about Sir John's role in the Butler inquiry that caused Brown to conclude he was suitable? Asked Philippe Sands. He goes on to say, the Butler inquiry, some who have worked with him, including on the Butler inquiry, fear he is not the right person. Someone who has seen him firsthand described his approach as one of obvious deference to governmental authority, as perhaps indicated by the acceptance of an inquiry in private. Philippe Sands goes on, this is a view I have heard repeated several times. More troubling is evidence I have seen for myself. He then refers to the occasion when the Butler Committee took evidence from the former Attorney General, Lord Goldsmith, on the 5th of May 2004. The uncorrected transcript shows some members of the inquiry pressing him hard. By contrast, Sir John's spoon-fed questions give every impression of being designed to elicit a response from the Attorney General that would demonstrate the reasonableness of his actions and those of the government. Turning to other members of the inquiry, we have Sir Roderick Lyne, former ambassador to Russia. He retired in 2004 and took up a number of posts in the private sector and was a special advisor to BP, which currently has major interests in Iraq. Whether this represents a conflict of interest or not, it does not help public confidence, given the concern that we went to war for oil. There are also two historians on the committee. Sir Lawrence Freedman, a military historian and professor of war studies. The Scotsman reports he previously praised Tony Blair's attempts to influence US foreign policy in the run-up to the war, influence that proved fruitless. Then there is Sir Martin Gilbert, who, in an article in The Observer in 2004, compared George W. Bush and Tony Blair to Roosevelt and Churchill. Both historians could be seen as establishment figures. Then there is Baroness Usha Prashar. She has a virtuous CV, but as other members have said, wouldn't it have been more appropriate to include members of this House? Surely public confidence in the inquiry would be enhanced if its membership included at least one member who has questioned the decision to go to war. Some other names have been mentioned in this debate. I would like to suggest the Honourable Member for Pendle. I think he would be an excellent member. I would also like to suggest another member. John Morrison was an analyst in the Ministry of Defence with wide experience of the British intelligence community, who, when he retired in 1999, took up a post as the Intelligence and Security Committee's investigator, but was sacked from this position after, with the committee's agreement, he was interviewed on Panorama in July 2004. In that interview, he referred to the collective raspberry that went around Whitehall when the Prime Minister stated in the UK dossier of September 2002 that Iraq's weapons of mass destruction posed a serious and current threat. John Morrison said that the Prime Minister was going way beyond anything any professional analyst would have agreed. The former Chief of Defence Intelligence and former Deputy Chairman of the Joint Intelligence Committee, Air Marshal Sir John Walker, worked with Mr Morrison. He expressed concern about the non-renewal of John Morrison's contract, who the ISC had previously described as a valuable asset to the committee. Sir John is reported as saying, John Morrison is an extremely experienced, extremely good intelligence operative. He said, I had the highest regard and respect for him. He has broken ranks, together with people like Dr. Brian Jones and David Kelly, because of a considerable concern about what was going on. If people of John Morrison's calibre break rank, it's very serious. He went on that it was beyond belief that Mr Morrison was going because his contract was up, and he would be surprised if pressure had not come from Number 10 after the embarrassment of the Panorama criticisms. Such a member as Sir John Morrison would add credibility to the committee. It is essential we have an inquiry in which all shades of opinion in this House and the public outside can have confidence in. It is supremely evident from the debate this afternoon and this evening that this is not the case. I still cannot understand why the government could not simply accept the motion in the name of the Leader of the Opposition. It would have been a way of going forward. It is still not too late to do so.